Hello, happy October to our residents and other viewers of this program. This is Talk of the Town with Supervisor Dick Thurston. We are trying to hold a program generally right after we've had a board meeting in order to help explain, bring you up to date what we've been up to during the board meeting. And particularly since it seems that most of our board meetings are going past certainly probably your bedtime, most definitely my bedtime. And in fact, on Tuesday night, we didn't get home until about 12:30 a.m. After a very productive, board meeting. But before I talk about the board, resolutions and the items that were discussed, I'd like to remind everyone that we have several important dates coming up for various activities within the town. And you're looking at the end of October, Halloween, related activities. And we actually have two activities coming up at the end of October. And one is on the 26th. Well, actually, both of them are on the 26th of October. The first one is the town's Trunk or Treat event, which is held over at Schlott House. It starts at 1 p.m. And that will be where many people sign up, register to decorate their car and truck trunks with all sorts of interesting designs, and also hand out usually candy to the children and adults, whoever wants to pick it up. And also there are awards to the most outstanding best in those categories. Also on the same afternoon, at the same time, is a wonderful pumpkin carving contest event over at the Chelsea Firehouse. That also starts at 1 o'clock, so you probably can first come to Trunk or Treat and then head over to Chelsea for that great event. Also, we have in early November on the 9th, Crafts Fair. This is held here in Town Hall on Middlebush Road, and it's actually sold out, fully booked. All of the vendor stalls are been booked actually for at least 1 month. That Crafts Fair, begins at 9 a.m. On the 9th and lasts through the afternoon. There's also, I think, refreshments available, to purchase, hot chocolate, coffee, cider, also for everyone. And then another public service event that we're holding, a very important one. And this is on the 24th of October, coming up next week. And the town is sponsoring, and Bill Beal, our councilman in Ward 1, is organizing an emergency preparedness event. It's awareness and training that's going to be held at Town Hall in the board meeting room at 7 p.m. on that particular night at the 24th. And so this is open to everyone. There's no registration required. Just come on out and listen to how to better be prepared in the event of a disaster or some other traumatic event that may occur in the town. Shifting from our events, I'd also like to then summarize and review with you a little bit what we did at the board meeting on Tuesday night. This was a board meeting that, because of the holiday on Monday, we had it off cycle, and it was a combination of a regular board meeting, and then also we started with budget deliberations. In that we started the meeting, we began it with a number of public hearings related to a number of important aspects of our town code change and some other activities. We started off the meeting discussing a number of proposed changes to the town code that basically closes some loopholes, at the same time trying to make it more friendly, that is the town code, to our residents and businesses and other applicants for permitting. Also, we were addressing a subdivision proposal actually over in our water and sewer district that involved the Cohen subdivision. It was one block, a house that had not been included previously. There's a development plan that's been going through the zoning and planning board, and so we had discussed that particular issue. And all these items then would subsequently have board resolutions relating to their approval during the rest of the regular meeting. In addition, there is discussion pertaining to tax assessment rolls. This is an annual occurrence that is based on the tax assessor, and this is really formulas that comes from the state of New York, and it's really more of a calculation. It does not set taxes by any means, and as we've discussed before, the tax assessor does not establish taxes. He assesses property value based on 100% valuation, and we've written and spoken a lot about that. I'm not going to address that at this point in time. And those particular assessments had been also approved in the subsequent board meeting. One of the interesting discussions that we had planned, and thanks to one of our residents also in providing some public comments, is relating to sewer and water fees. The boards had some internal discussion, and then on Tuesday night, we had further excellent discussion with respect to how can we have a more responsible, environmentally focused structure that encourages actually more conservation of our water. And as you know, water is both for drinking, but also it goes into the sewer system. So we're facing some significant challenges relating to capacity. So we're trying to look out in the future, but at the same time, as we have done throughout this administration, and as I've repeatedly said, what we're trying to do is better manage the tax burden on the residents. And in this particular case, we believe that some readjustment of the formulas actually can reduce some of the tax burden when it comes to water and sewer. But we're still working on that. Stay tuned for subsequent meetings through the end of the year when we'll have more discussions and also probably have a public hearing or two relating to those issues. But I think it's good news. It's moving in the right direction, as are a number of issues relating to more responsible financial management, which we've been doing since 2018. Another public hearing is related to a very important aspect of our community and quality of life for all residents, and that is concerning our Inspiration Field, which is the home for our Challenger League, which is part of our baseball association out of Robinson Park. We got a grant a number of years ago, I think it was back in 2009, 2010, that enabled the renovation of the field to have a dedicated field for the participants in that league. We had issues since that time with respect to the restroom facilities, and in order to bring them to a more usable state as well as ADA compliant, and we had to dismantle the old facility, and now we're moving toward building a new one. Well, we'll be applying for grant monies toward that cost, and the board discussed and then approved the filing of a grant application, which will be going in tomorrow to the county. We already got approval of eligibility, so this is going to be an important aspect of our town and enhancement of the community. Hopefully we'll be ready for next year's season come the spring. We also have had discussions with respect to the financial update of the town, looking at the revenue stream and costs through this year. At this point in time, we are on budget overall, with the exception of some revenue decline in the area of court fees and fines. That has dropped off, and also we've seen some softening in the mortgage market, because we get percentage of the mortgage tax that is applied against against home sales in the town. In addition, we then discussed more about the water and sewer budget and relating to the fees, and the board then was unanimous in its decision to do a further in-depth analysis on costing factors and what should be a more reasonable rate, more responsible rate for sewer and water fees. So as I said, stay tuned. That's something that the board and I are very committed to and will be pursuing. In addition, we had presentations and discussion for other areas of the budget, one of which is our recreation department program, our building department, which deals with code enforcement, permitting, and a variety of areas relating to code compliance. And so we had actually a positive discussion on ways to further improve upon the services that are offered. Then we got into a discussion with respect to the highway budget. I think a lot of discussion focused on the safety of the roads and particularly salt usage. For those of you who didn't understand it, the discussion really was related to how should the budget be determined. Is it through volume that is used each year and maintain pretty much a steady volume at 5,000 metric tons a year versus financial cost, which of course fluctuates based on the amount, the price that is being offered through purchasing. So that was a discussion that went, actually, I think that's maybe at that point in time, some of the folks fell asleep, listening to that the particular discussion. And then finally, in our discussion on financings, we had another quality of life related discussion on how to further improve our parks, recreation facilities. This is what we've called Spook Hill Park. This is where we have received a no strings attached $100,000 grant. And so the board agreed that that money would be applied to enhancing the restroom facilities, making them ADA compliant. Same with parking lot and fence and internal walking paths that will then go toward the actual field and recreation and exercise equipment. Those will be funded in part through donations, contributions of a variety of organizations that are excited about the park, and then some additional monies from the town, and most likely from our Parkland Trust monies. And so we're hopeful to perhaps even have a groundbreaking this fall, and then starting the work come next spring after the detailed specifications are drawn up and approved by the board. So the other resolutions that we had, I'd like you all to make note that we changed a couple dates with respect to board meetings. First of all, the board meeting on the 11th of November, which is our Veterans Day, and remember, and we'll be talking about it later in another taping, that we'll have our great Veterans Day ceremony out here. And then that meeting that was scheduled for the 11th is going to be on the 13th. That's Wednesday the 13th. Then in addition, we've decided that we, at this point in time, don't need to have a regularly scheduled meeting on the Monday before Christmas. I think the meeting was originally scheduled for the 23rd of December. So at this point in time, unless there's some special circumstances, we'll have only one meeting during the month of December. So overall, other routine items that were discussed, related to a number of tax certiorari matters, also return of escrow funds, and then we had a good discussion, the first of what will be probably several, on new park rules. Actually, what it's going to be is a codification of the various rules that are applicable to use of our parks, making it more clear and transparent, but also in certain situations, such as relating to our parks where there's something that's not necessarily appropriate going on, that we could either ticket them or have the sheriff's deputies or somebody come in. But it's designed to increase the usability and the clarity of when the parks are used, when they're going to be unlocked and opened up. So it's a good step forward, and we'll be seeing codification that will largely then apply to the parks as we open them up next year in the spring. So overall, we had a very good, again, proactive, productive meeting. I encourage you to watch the meeting, maybe in segments, since it takes a lot of time to go through it. And also welcome and appreciate the residents that came out to the meeting. There was one minor disappointment, even to myself. We had scheduled a discussion and resolution with respect to change in the highway, rules, regulations concerning parking. There was a technicality that came up at the last minute that required, in this case, the planning board to make a determination. The good news is that during our special meeting next Monday, we will have on the agenda that particular motion that was tabled, that resolution. And what is going to happen is the planning board also meets that night. They'll first address this, then give us a letter, which then the board will receive during our special meeting. And then that resolution, I believe, we don't know of any opposition. Public hearing's already been held, no opposition. So then we'll get that approved on next Monday night. So stay tuned. I welcome you to continue to participate, and please come into Town Hall if you have any questions on any matter. Thank you, and have a very good day.